Hi friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be using some Scrappy Tails products. I used them last week, and today we're going to be focusing on the A7 tall triangular pop-up vase. Very cool that you can make an A7 with it. We're also going to be using several dies. This is the Anthurium die. We also have the Bird of Paradise die. And they kind of, at first when I looked at them, seem a little intimidating, but they're not, I promise you. And then we have the Cockatoo die, and then we also have the Tropical Leaves Assortment. So we're going to be using all of those, and I'm also going to be using this Tropical Bliss paper pad. This came in the card kit, but you can get it separately, and you can also get 12 by 12. So here's what we're going to be using to start. I'm going to show you how to make one of these, and then I'll show you a couple others that I made. You're going to need 4 pieces of this piece right here. And so I went ahead and cut that out of that Tropical Bliss paper pad. And then you have some options. And I cut out 4 of everything. So I cut out 4 of these, 4 of the smaller pieces, 4 of the layering pieces. But keep in mind, you can make these with the layers, without the layers. You have plenty of options. And this cardstock, this paper pad, is actually a heavier weight paper pad. So it's pretty sturdy even by itself, because I did make one just using just the one piece of cardstock. And then we're going to go ahead and assemble. And I'm going to do this for all 4 pieces. I just found for me it was easier to go ahead and use all those score lines, get everything nice and scored up, and then it was easier to put together, at least for me. I'm going to layer this up right here on top of that orange piece of pattern paper, and then I'm going to take this and layer it on top of one of our bigger pieces. This is part of our base. And then we've got these pieces right here, and we're going to layer those up as well. And I'm using some Barely Art glue. I like this glue because it does give me a little bit of wiggle room, but it does dry fairly quickly, and it's nice and strong. So we're going to be using this the entire time. And then I'll layer that up on top of the vase, and then we'll do that for all 4 pieces. So there they are, and I'm showing you that Barely Art glue because you could use double-sided tape, but I just find for pieces like this, I want something nice and strong so that it doesn't fall apart. And I'm not saying that double-sided tape would do that. It's just I seem to have better luck when I actually use a liquid glue. And like I said, I like this stuff because it gives you wiggle room, but it is nice and strong once it is done and adhered. So I'm going to let that one dry for a few seconds, push these together, let that dry for a few seconds. And I have everything sped up double time, so it is going a little faster than it normally would. But I give it probably about, 20 to 30 seconds in between. Then we'll attach those together like that. And once I feel like that is dry enough, we're going to go ahead and put some liquid glue on this one. And then we'll fold up our vase. And I love it because it does fold flat. So it could go inside of an envelope. So I just like to play around with mine, make sure that it folds all ways that it's supposed to. And then there we have a vase. So there's our first base. And this right here is a bridge. And I won't lie to you, I always struggle with any of the bridge pieces that go in any interactive die like this. It's just me. So I am going to use some double-sided tape for that because I have found that will give me the perfect wiggle room that I need. So I'm just using it for the bridge inside. And I'll peel off that release paper, then I'll stick that inside. And this is just necessary for when you want to add pieces to the inside to make it an actual vase. And then I'm just going to basically just squish it closed and make sure that it's in there. So there you go. And now we're going to move on to the actual piece that we're going to put in for the vase. I keep my dies together for these. And for me, that just works a little bit easier because I like to color them with Copics. I think that's probably my favorite way to do it. You could also do it with like watercolor paper, and then maybe say, for example, watercolor these. These could be ink blended. You could use the colored cardstock that you wanted. And it's funny when I'm coloring these, it actually looks like a total hot mess because obviously I'm going way past the lines. I'm just coloring. I'm basically just scribbling that color on there, which is, I think, another reason why this part is so easy for me. And I love how she has her dies designed. So you have I mean, you basically just build it together as a layer. So you've got your base layer, and it has all the detail that you'd need on there to know exactly where you're going to put things. And that'll make sense here in a second. But right now I'm just kind of blending that color out. And again, it doesn't look good. It looks like a mess. But once I pull that piece out of there, it definitely looks better. So there's the greens that we've used. Now we're going to move on to the flowers themselves. I'm using some orange. And I'm just going to, and this one just wants to keep popping out. I'm going to use some YR07 on the base for our flower. And then I'll bring in a darker color. I didn't do a very good job of putting those colors up on the screen. I do apologize for that. But I think this is YR27. And then I'll just go back and blend that color a little bit. And then we'll just grab a yellow for the stamens. And so again, total mess, but once I start peeling that out, it'll make more sense. And it'll look better, I promise. All right, peeling those out, popping out any of the extra pieces. I can already see an area where I missed with the Copics, and I find that and fix it later. But to assemble these, I'm going to go ahead and take these pieces. These are the parts of the leaves. And as you can see on camera, the embossed edge lines are there. They might even be some small cut lines to make it even easier, but you just pair them up where they belong. I'll put a little bit of liquid glue behind there. I'm using my reverse tweezers, and then I can just stick those down on top. Another reason I like the Barely Art glue is because the nozzle is very tiny for detail, and the glue itself dries clear and matte. So, you're not getting a bunch of glossy, and it isn't another color. So anywhere where the glue seeps out, you're good. But I'm just popping on little dots of glue and then sticking these down here. I'm thinking that was supposed to be for that one. Then I realized that doesn't fit that one, but it fits that one perfectly. And then we just have 2 more to go. And now those are really starting to look like leaves. So there's this one. And then we have the one tinier one, really, really small. But I love all the detail. And it could just be me, but sometimes I look at these dies and, it is intimidating, but then you just start working or you see somebody put it together and you're like, oh, why was I scared of that? That's easy. And then I'll pop this down on top, our flowers. And then after I put this one down, that's where I realize I missed a whole spot for the green. So I'll pull out that green one again and just be careful that if there was any glue that seeped out, I don't put my Copic marker over the top of that. And then I just see a few white spots that I missed, so I'll bring in my colors again and just color that to make sure that's good. And then I'll take the glue and put that right down where those stamens go. And then I'll pop those into place. Again, with that glue drying clear. But these don't take any time to put together. And we have our flower. Go perfectly on a card, but it's going to go beautifully inside this vase. I am going to have to trim this one part off, and I'll just attach it on the side. But that's the cool thing about it as well. You can manipulate these how you want to. And I'll just use a little bit of liquid glue on the back of one of those pieces so that I can adhere it, or on the front to adhere it to the back of one of these. The advantage to maybe using a colored cardstock is that the back of your piece is going to be nice and coherent. But here I am showing you that it's 3.5 inches, and I made mine a little bit bigger than a 5x7. It's 5 inches. So closed, it's 5 inches. And I'm going to pull in this sentiment from the card. Actually, this stamp set comes from the card kit, but it is a tropical bird stamp set. And I stamped out the sentiment Hello Gorgeous, and I used the matching die to cut those out. And now I'll show you the cards that I made. So here's the one we made on camera. Again, this one measures 5 inches, and it does go a little bit higher, but I can hand this off to the recipient very easily or stick it in a gift or whatnot. But I love how that turned out, and then they can pop it up and they've got some flowers. Here's one I made with the Cockatoo, and that is the pattern paper that I used. I just used it without adding any of those layers, and it's nice and strong. This one it's about 5x8, so it's definitely bigger than the 5x7, so it won't fit in the envelope. So it's another one I'd have to hand off, but isn't that cool? And then this one I show you does fit in a 5x7, and that uses the Bird of Paradise die. And I colored these all the same, just using Copics. But here's a 5x7 envelope. This will just pop in there super easy, and you can send that through the mail nice and flat. I love that. But there you go. So I hope you like this video. I sure enjoyed making these. Everything that I used is linked down below, along with some of the extra pieces that you might want to get your hands on. But if you like this video, hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.